Hello and welcome back to the seventh episode of Charity Cup Chats. Last week we were joined by Taylor Moore. And this week, before I introduce him, it's very rare these days for a player to be called a legend by fans. It's even more rare for that to be by two different sets of fans, but it's almost impossible for that to be two rivals. And that's just what my next guest is, John White. How are you, mate?
I'm very good, thank you. And what an introduction that is.
Yeah. So, obviously, before we start, the point of doing this is to raise money for the J3 Foundation and Havens. Obviously, John, you've helped us out this year already. You took part in our 2.6 challenge. And we've raised almost £800, I think, now, and it would be great if we get to £1,000. So if you are enjoying, please do donate, and let's get into it. So, John, the last time Blues fans saw you, you was subbed off with an injury in a 2-1 win against Lincoln. How is that injury now?
Yeah, it's all good. It's a reoccurrence again of my arm break, which up until sort of the end of last season when it initially happened, it's the first bone I've broken. But as I said, it's a reoccurrence, and it was 3 times in 10 months.
Yeah,
which I don't think anyone would disagree that that's just, there's a mixture of luck and obviously a weaker bone structure and all that kind of stuff from the initial injury. But yeah, it's been tough. But like I said, now as things are at the moment, it's really good. It's kind of as if it's not happened, purely because where I'm not training every day and stuff, I'm not wearing a splint or anything like that during the day. It's as if it hasn't happened, kind of thing, other than having a big scar.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's doing really well, and it's just a case of keep adding to the strength work that I'm doing for it, and hope this time that it's the final fix and it's done it good for a long time rather than just for now.
Yeah. Do you still have the pin in your arm?
Yeah, I've got, basically what happened, they put a plate in when I first did it.
Yeah.
A small plate, probably about 4 or 5 inches long, literally to cover the break point. The problem I had with that is at each end of that pin, or the plate, if you like, it leaves both ends vulnerable because they're only thin bits of bone.
Yeah.
And what happened with the next break was that my arm bent, if you like, and the bone bends a little bit without snapping, but it's bent against the end of the plate, and that's what's made it snap. So that's your weak point.
Yeah.
That happened, and then basically the last time they took out both times they've taken out the plate and put a new one in, but this time instead of just covering the break, they've covered pretty much wrist to elbow.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a fairly hefty scar now, but like I said, it hopefully negates those weak points at each end, because each end has got a lot thicker bit of bone to be screwed into. Obviously, the elbow, up near the elbow, the bone gets really thick again, and it's the thickest point at your wrist as well. So fingers crossed, it's the final fix, like I said, and it's done the job this time. But again, we won't know until we get back into the thick of things.
Yeah, well, hopefully it's all okay. So we're going to move on to lockdown. It's probably the only thing we can talk about now. I've seen a lot on your Instagram. You've taken a bit of a habit into cycling. How's that?
It's something I've always enjoyed, cycling, but never got into it to really do it for fitness purposes or anything like that. It's just been more enjoyment, going out with my mates or my brother or something like that, just to get around. And obviously before you're old enough to drive and all that kind of stuff, it's your only mode of transport other than your parents. So it's that kind of early freedom. But like you said, over the lockdown period, I'm not a great lover of going road running or anything like that, and doing the same sort of running football sessions 2, 3, 4 times a week. It can just do your head in. It just gets you down, not gets you down, but it becomes monotonous, and I think I found it harder to keep motivated doing those kind of sessions. So I looked to something else that would help in different ways to keep my fitness up. But are very much enjoyable, again, getting that freedom again, especially during lockdown where you're not able to go out and about just willy-nilly. And it's been great, and I've really enjoyed doing bigger and bigger rides. And yeah, it's not always fun because the competitor in me kind of struggles to go slow.
Yeah.
It's one of those things I kind of have to go kind of flat out, or I have to make sure I keep telling myself to pace myself and slow down and enjoy it more.
Yeah.
But no, it's something I've found really addictive, actually.
Yeah, and my legs hurt just looking at it. So I imagine you've probably felt the burn when you started doing it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's one of those. Your body gets used to it, but it's
Yeah.
something completely different again. And even going swapping bikes when I got a little bit more serious, I was on a hybrid, which is basically a mountain bike with thinner tires on it.
Yeah.
And going from that to a road bike, I don't know if anyone's done it recently, but the position on it is a lot more. You lean a lot further forward, so you use your muscles and your legs differently. It's all fun and games, but yeah, no, it just takes a bit of getting used to. And once you do, yeah, no, it doesn't get easier. You just get a bit quicker.
Yeah. So we're gonna go back to your childhood now. You joined Colchester's Academy aged 11, is that right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, and how was that like for you, obviously growing up? Because they were your local team, weren't they?
Yes, yeah, I was. My parents are over towards Malden way, so yeah, I was in between a few different places, but yeah, no, that was probably my closest professional, other than either Southend or
Yeah.
Colchester, and I'm guessing it was just through luck, I suppose, as much as being in the right place at the right time, being seen by the right people, that gets you a certain direction. And I'm very much believe that it is down to, yeah, obviously you have to have a certain amount of natural ability and be coachable and all that kind of stuff. But I think the situation you find yourself in that gets you to where you are is down to being in the right place at the right time. And you can't predict that. It's just, it happens or it doesn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they were like I said, one of my local teams, and being in the right place at the right time, got seen by them, and yeah, went into the centre of excellence, which it was then, and obviously now they're academies and all that kind of stuff. But I've got great memories of my younger days. Not loads of memories because it's a hell of a long time ago now. But it's always nice looking back at like your squad photos and all that kind of stuff, and keeping up to date with where people are now and what they're doing through social media more than anything. But no, it's like I said, I've got great memories of the early days. But like I said, more now, probably more through photos and videos and through stories people tell and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, good times.
Yeah, and was you always a defender? Because a few players I've spoken to probably started in a different position, but were then moved.
Sunday League, I started off kind of centre midfield.
All right.
I believe that was probably because I was fairly fit, as lots of youngsters are now, but I could get around the pitch, and I could kick it probably harder than a lot of people at my age group. So it kind of made sense for me to be somewhere in the middle of the pitch. And started to play a bit of centre back as well. Probably, I think that was Sunday League as well.
Yeah.
And that followed me through into sort of the centre of excellence. I was switching a little bit between centre back and right back, but generally I think it was more the centre half stuff until I got towards the youth team days, where I kind of didn't get as big as quick as some of the other centre half kind of players around at the time. So I kind of then got moved more into a predominantly right back role, and took it from there, really.
Yeah. So we're going to move forward now to August 2004. Phil Parkinson gave you your debut in a cup game against Cheltenham. How much do you remember of that game?
I don't know if it's my memory or if it's through like images and things like that. I can picture it in my head now. It being dark and coming on, and I can't remember how long I played. I don't think I would have played more than about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes at the end of a game, to try and help see it out. Being a defender, that was kind of early days. That was my role, was to come on and like shore things up a little bit. And but yeah, I can still picture it. I can't remember who I came on for, but I do remember images in my head of being on the pitch and the feelings, and obviously being nervous, because that's part of it. It's going into the men's game and the big bad world of football, and it was a crazy time. But it was, I just remember how proud I felt of myself that I'd got that first step on the ladder.
Yeah. And obviously we're going to move forward a season again to the 2005-06 season. A good season for everyone in Essex. obviously for us as Southend fans, obviously I was like 3 at the time, so it wouldn't have been me. But the expectation was to survive in League One and not to win the league. What was Colchester's expectations for that season?
I believe it was to try and get to the playoffs. And I think it was one of those seasons where everything it kind of clicked, it worked. And you could, I can't remember the point that we kind of decided, right, we need to go flat out here and just see where it gets us. Because we were up and around it and doing all right. But then any fan knows it takes a run of 4 or 5 games and it can change everything, whether that be in a good way or in a bad way.
Yeah.
It can fly you from nowhere near to into automatics at times and vice versa. But yeah, I think it was probably quietly confident in that we'd get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, things just seemed to happen. It worked, and it kind of all started to snowball, as I'm sure it did for the guys at Southend. But I can't remember too much of that rivalry because it was such a long time ago now. It's hard to even put myself in a lot of the games that I was playing in.
Yeah.
And it's only when you see images or videos. Recently, I don't know if anyone knows, the Colchester guys, the media guys, had put up a lot of the highlights of the games of that season.
All right.
And it just looks so different to how I picture it in my head now.
Yeah.
It's good to look back at it and see it all and see if it's anything close to how you remember it. But when you see it again, it just looks to me, it looks so different. And obviously it is such a long time ago now, but there's nothing but good memories going along.
Yeah. And you played quite a bit, didn't you, that season?
I think it was somewhere between 35 and 40 games, yeah. So I was fairly heavily involved.
Yeah.
I think I moved around positions a few times, and I know I made my debut at centre midfield. So I played a few with Phil Parkinson. At times he put me in as a kind of a sitting centre midfielder, again, with my defensive responsibilities and quite often man marking jobs if we were playing against teams with a danger man like an attacking midfielder, or I would stick to them like glue and try and nullify them. But yeah, no, it was a good time. And like I said, it's nice to have a record of it on video. And
yeah,
although even the video looks grainy and terrible quality and compared to nowadays, but no, it was great times, and something that, as much as I say I'll never forget, it might get a bit patchy over time, but it's nice to have the videos and stuff to look back on and to be able to celebrate it again.
Yeah, and what was Phil Parkinson like? Because he's been linked with Southend job a few times. I don't know if that's just fans putting rumours, but what was he like?
I believe he was linked in the last, I think when Southend came in, possibly, or maybe the time before that.
Yeah.
Linked, but I don't know how true that was, whether they actually spoke or not. But no, he was a great manager for me. He was great with man management. He trusted the kids, the youngsters coming through. And I think he believes that if you're good enough, you're old enough.
Yeah.
And that's all you can hope for as a youngster coming through, is to have someone that thinks if you're confident enough in yourself, that they've got the confidence in you to go and take that next step and be a regular in the team or come in and out. And I think he knew very well how to look after youngsters, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch, how to manage players in general. And to look after the group as a whole. He knew when you needed to be taken out to protect you, or if you're starting to get tired or from a run of games or whatever. Being a youngster, he understood what you were going through, and being a player himself, I'm sure he was probably calling on a lot of his own memories of how he'd like to be treated. And something that stood with me ever since, that anytime I think back to that time, I think how good he was with not just myself, but other youngsters and senior pros as well. He wouldn't take any crap off anyone.
Yeah.
But he, especially with the senior pros, he'd stand up to what he thought was right, and he wouldn't take it from anyone, and he'd keep pushing and pushing to try and get the best out of everyone, but in the right way, I feel.
Yeah. So obviously, runners-up, promotion to the Championship. Most players don't get to that level in their whole career, but you was quite young when you got there. Was that something you was looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I remember the final day of the season. We were playing Yeovil away, so it was a horrible game to play in.
Yeah,
Obviously, everyone from our side of things was nervous as hell. I don't think they had anything to play for, which obviously helps in the long run because it
yeah,
means they're not overly pushing to try and win a game. Although obviously everyone wants to win,
yeah.
but they're not devastated if they don't.
Takes that pressure off a bit.
Yeah, I mean, but I know everyone going into that game was kind of not worried about results and all that kind of stuff, but it was nice. I don't think we had to win. I think we only had to either draw or better or someone else's.
Yeah,
So it was nervy all through the game, and it seemed like the longest second half ever to have been played, as you'd expect with waiting for something like that to happen.
yeah,
It was either 0-0 or 1-0. I can't remember. I think it might have been 0-0, and that was enough for us. So the relief, the excitement, the joy, the elation as soon as that final whistle went was unbelievable. It was such a weight lifted,
yeah.
and then just obviously the celebrations began from there and carried on for a fair few days afterwards.
And how did you find the championship? Because you went on loan to Stevenage, didn't you? But was that during the championship?
Yes, it was. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I was just having a brief look over appearances and things because I don't think I remembered it quite as clearly as it happened.
yeah,
Because I don't think I played much. I made the odd sub appearance and things like that during the first season, especially, and then I think it was the second season in the Championship where
yeah.
I wasn't getting a sniff, and then I went on loan to Stevenage. I don't think the manager at the time, I think it was Grant Williams. I don't think at the time when he said to me, Stevenage are interested in taking you on loan, he wasn't that keen on me going there.
All right.
Whether that be, I don't think it was to play, but I think he wanted me in and around the squad and stuff. But I remember thinking to myself, I need to get out and play some football. I need a fresh face to be talking to. I need fresh information. I need to freshen up really more than anything.
Yeah,
It's tough being in and around it, but not getting your chance very often. But yeah, I went there for a month, and then I believe it was Boxing Day I came back
all
and
right.
played the next game, and it was Charlton away. And then I believe I stuck in the team until the end of the season then,
Yeah,
and played the rest of the games, which, yeah, it's a great feeling playing in the Championship and playing against such quality players and a bit of dreamland, really.
yeah,
Especially being fairly young at the time. But it's one of those times, it's tough because we were in a losing team and we got relegated that year.
yeah,
So, yeah, it's similar to the season just gone. It's not nice being on the losing end and regularly losing games, albeit that it's against ridiculous quality and millions of pounds and budgets that are crazy and playing in stadiums that hold 30,000, all that kind of stuff, playing against little Colchester. So it kind of softened the blow a little bit, but again, like I said, it's not nice losing games, and nobody likes losing games. So it was kind of bittersweet a little bit. It was nice to be playing,
yeah,
but like I said, it's tough. It's tough when you lose games, and but no, it's an experience that I'll never forget, and it's something that I look back on fondly, and I'm quite proud that I've managed to get a few appearances in the Championship, albeit getting those defeats and things. But I don't feel like I stuck out for being or not being up to the standard. I believe I played well when I did play, but it was just the situation we were in.
yeah. Did you find relegation hard to take? Because obviously that was your first of your career.
I did, but like I said, I suppose we're overachieving to even be there for the second season.
Yeah,
With our budget, with our fan base, all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
It was just, I don't know, maybe it took the pressure off a little bit in that expectations weren't so high that we were expected to be in the top half of the Championship.
yeah. Just proud to be there.
Yeah, although first season we did unbelievably well and finished 10th. I think it's the highest ever finish for the club, which again was so unexpected and by everyone, I suppose, except for us. I think it did us really well to be in a banged out old stadium and nobody like coming to play against us. And the team spirit followed on from the year before where we got promoted. And yeah, although budgets would have gone up, you would have brought in players that are towards that higher end. I felt that the manager brought in good choices, and it gelled us as a unit more than anything, and it didn't alienate anyone. Which is massive when you're trying to develop your squad into something that can compete at a higher level. It's not always easy to get the balance of quality and egos and all that kind of stuff. So I think he did well with that. But like I said, expectations weren't crazy high, which was nice because it does take the pressure off a little bit. But like I said, it's never nice going in a run of games and not being able to get a draw or not being able to win a game. And but like I said, it's something that I'm proud of, and no one can take it away from me now.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to move on now to 2009. Paul Lambert's the gaffer. He didn't really give you a chance at all, did he?
If my memory serves me correctly, the season before he left, I was playing for him.
All right.
And played a few games for him and did well. And then we had our usual, like most managers do, had your end of season one-on-one meeting. And he reassured me, said, yeah, you're in my plans for next year. You're a good player. I like what you do, all that kind of stuff. And then come to pre-season, and the complete opposite had happened over a period of time that I'd not been in, or no one had been in because it was the off-season.
Yeah.
Came back and he put, I think it was 8 of us into what we called the bomb squad. And yeah, there was a group of 8 players that he didn't want for whatever reason. I don't know what it was. Didn't really get a heads up that it was going to happen. Like I said, with the previous end of season, everything was fine and looking forward to the next season. And then, yeah, it just went completely the opposite direction. And he didn't take us with the group when they went to Germany, I think it was, for their pre-season training camp. He didn't take us 8, and I don't think he wanted us training with them either. So especially during that period, when they were in Germany, we were training with the youth team.
Yeah.
And just trying to get our work done without kind of losing our heads. And you think the worst when that kind of stuff happens. It's the start of a new season and you're not even allowed with the same squad. And you don't really know why. So it was a bit of a shock and a bit tough to take. But as I'm sure you'll go on to next was my Southend loan.
Yeah. And just quickly, how did you deal with that? Because it's not like you'd been out partying and broke club rules and then you was alienated for that reason. It was purely just because he didn't want you.
I believe in myself that I know I do pretty much everything I can to be what people would probably call a model professional.
Yeah.
So I knew that I hadn't done anything that would jeopardise that. And that makes that decision, or not the decision to live with it, a lot easier.
Yeah.
It's not like I've got regrets and I'm thinking to myself, I shouldn't have done that or I should have done that. I know that I'd done everything right. I'd done my off-season programme. I was up to speed with the rest of the lads. I was ready to go. I hadn't caused a fuss in the training camp or anything like that. So for me personally, it makes it easier to take.
Yeah.
No one likes being told they're not wanted or you're not going to play, or I don't want you training with us, or that. It's never easy to take.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe being that young, I might have possibly taken it more personally than I should have done, and seen it as a bit of a dig at me. But I knew I wasn't alone as well, which helped.
Yeah.
Kind of, funnily enough, built a kind of camaraderie between us 8.
Yeah.
And we kind of got a bit closer during that time, and it made us it probably helped us get through it as a little team, if you like,
yeah,
of the bomb squad, and just trying to make sure we were right in case we were called upon, and we didn't want to let ourselves down in any way.
Yeah.
It's not always easy to keep your mouth shut when you think you've been unjustly treated like that, but it is what it is, and with the manager, with Paul Lambert, I don't know what it was. It seemed like he liked a bit of a tense atmosphere at training. I don't know whether he's changed now or in the future or in the past
Yeah.
since he moved on, but I kind of didn't enjoy my time as much with training and stuff with him around, purely
Yeah.
because it kind of felt at times like you couldn't talk to him. Like you might walk down the corridor and he might not say anything to you. He might not kind of make eye contact. Whether that was him doing it on purpose or I don't know, but I didn't enjoy my time out off the football pitch as much around kind of the training ground and all those kinds of aspects of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was mentally, yeah, it's mentally tough. It's mentally challenging. It's a new challenge, especially when you haven't had too much of that before. It's a learning experience as well. And I learned not to shed or project my frustrations outwardly too much in the group.
Yeah.
That generally will harm your chances of coming back from it or getting back in amongst it. Which again makes it tough, but you have to have those people around you. Not necessarily, maybe in football, maybe some of your football friends, if you like, but also friends, family outside of football that will tell you the truth, will know when you need an arm round, you know when you need a kick up the bum, and it's important to have. You don't have to have loads and loads of them, but if you've got a close few, that can make a huge difference for your venting if you need it, or if you just need to talk a situation through with people and see what someone else thinks from the outside, and their advice. It doesn't always have to be someone that knows football to be able to give you good advice on a situation, if you like. And I think having those close people, it made it easier for me to talk through it and be able to get it out in the right way and work through it.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to a better period in your career. You were sent out on loan to Southend. How did that loan come about? And was you a bit anxious joining, obviously, a rival, or did you just not care?
It was during that time where I wasn't around the first team too much, and I got a phone call. I remember it. I was sat on my living room floor, sitting on the computer. I think I might have been watching TV, and I got a phone call from the manager, Paul Lambert, and he basically said, "You're going." So that was kind of it. It didn't really give me too much of a choice or an option. It was one of those things where he just said, "Right, Southend are interested in taking you on loan. Go and do it." And without really thinking, my situation at the time was bad because I wasn't involved too much. I wasn't playing, and I wasn't looking like I was going to be involved for the start of the season. So it was kind of I'll go and play some football. I'll go. It's not very far away. It's local. I didn't really think about the rivalry too much. It was a case of me getting that fresh start.
Yeah.
And yes, getting fitness up, playing proper football, not sitting around waiting for something to happen or waiting for an injury or to be called in somewhere you're not really wanted. So I saw it as a great opportunity. And then I don't think I knew too many of the players over there, but I knew I'd played against a few of them quite regularly and knew of a few of them. And then when I met the manager, Steve Tilson, he was infectious. His energy, enthusiasm, and it lifted me instantly. And I know I went with Matt Heath. He came as well at the same time as me. So that probably made it a lot easier because I was quite close with Heafy and still am now. So it probably made the settling in process a lot easier, being that both of us were there at the same time. Both of us were going into a new group. And like I said, the atmosphere felt so different going into Southend. It seemed like everyone was happier. Everyone was smiling, playing jokes on each other. And it was just generally a really happy, enjoyable place to be. And I think that brings out the best in people when it comes to being on the pitch. And I think it shows when someone's happy off the pitch, it shows even more so on the pitch.
Definitely.
But no, it was, like I said, I didn't have much choice, but that in the end, it's been a real good thing that I didn't have the choice to think about it. Not that I don't think I would have said no.
Yeah.
But I'd have probably had more of a think rather than just say, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going. But it took the choice away, and
Yeah.
that's probably what I needed at the time. And it kind of worked out really well for me.
Yeah, and it's probably a bit of deja vu, but how was the time at the club? Because I think I've got my seasons right. That's when things started to go a bit south for the club in general.
Yeah, that could have been. Was that a relegation season,
I
possibly?
think it might have been. I think that was Tilson's last season or just
Yeah,
before it.
yeah. I think we didn't do too bad, but I think during my time, I was only there for a month, I think it was, and
Yeah,
playing left back at the time. I think that it was a case of when I was there, we were getting too many draws.
yeah,
Yeah, we'd lose the odd one, but I think it was a case we couldn't quite get over the line to win games, and we were getting draw after draw, and obviously it's not enough.
yeah,
Just pulling out draws, and I'm guessing that would have continued through the season. And yeah, I mean it's like I said, it's contrast because it was such an enjoyable time for me. Number one, obviously getting out of a bad situation, and number two, going into a happier, better place for me as much as everyone else, and just going in, seeing everyone in the morning smiling. You'd have the boys come around every time or when they first see you in the morning, come shake your hand and say morning, and it just felt completely different. And it was like a breath of fresh air to me to try and get out and to get that chance to play some proper football again and be somewhere you wanted as much as anything. I know it's a funny thing to say, but feeling wanted is quite important to a lot of players.
yeah.
And being somewhere you're not really wanted doesn't really help anyone.
Mm. So we're going to move forward again, this time to 2013. You'd been at Colchester for including your youth academy over a decade. You were given an offer from the club, but you decided to reject it. Why was that?
I felt they were taking the mick.
Right.
Whether it was, I don't think it was the manager's fault. I think had he had the choice, he would have given me an offer similar to what I was previously on. Excuse me. But the offer that came through was, it was almost a 50% pay cut, which, considering I'd been playing fairly regularly and maybe not cemented in, but with obviously different managers coming in, they'd have different people they might bring in and different players they fancied more than others. But generally, I was a good member of the squad, if not the team.
Yeah.
And I felt that when it came time for that offer, I felt it was not disrespectful, but I was expecting a lot more.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting a pay rise or anything like that. But when it came through, it was a bit like a kick in the teeth.
Mm.
And I know they had to do it with others. They did I think that might have been when pay caps came in or something to do with relative to your crowds and all that kind of stuff. So I knew there was a potential pay cut coming, but to almost go half of what you were on, and I was never on one of the bigger wages there ever.
Yeah.
A sad fact of coming through a club is
Mm.
obviously for a long time you're treated like a youngster, even when you become cemented in the squad, in the team. It kind of doesn't change until you move clubs, which is, unless you're at those top clubs where they've got that money to throw around a bit, and
Yeah.
it doesn't really happen with the lower league clubs. I feel like you're there, you come through, you like the furniture, and you
Yeah.
get treated a bit like that until you move on to somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then you become your own person, your own player, and you're not just Johnny White who's come through the youth. And even when you're 27, I think I was when I left, still felt like, not in myself, but you do get treated slightly differently when you move on.
Yeah.
You get treated as a grown up, a pro. Not that I wasn't treated as a pro at Colchester, but like I said, it feels different when you move somewhere else, and it's unfortunate that has to happen for you to get that. But it is what it is, and you get used to it. There's nothing you can do about it. And I was really happy for a long time at Colchester. So I've got nothing bad to say about the club itself and the people running it. And it just left me with a bit of a bad taste in the mouth. But
Yeah.
I look back at my time at Colchester as nothing but good.
Yeah.
and I've got a lot of respect for the people that were around me, around the club, the staff, obviously the chairman and everyone that was there that gave me such good memories and good times over the years and allowed me to move on with my career.
Yeah. So obviously we know what happens next, but were there any other teams apart from Southend in for you that summer?
There was the odd sniff or bits of interest, but I remember getting a phone call from, who was it from? I can't remember, from one of the staff at Southend.
Yeah.
Just out of the blue, wanted me to come in for like a chat, just to kind of get to know you. And I know Phil Brown was there, and I think it was something that I'd not done before, just to come and kind of feel each other out a little bit and see if we were going to get on personality wise as much as anything else, because they obviously know people in football. They know, they do their research, they know what you're like on the pitch.
Yeah.
But I think something that Phil Brown did really well was vetting who we brought in for not just what they can do on the pitch, but what they're like in the group, what they're like as a person, as much as what they are like as a footballer.
Yeah.
And I think that was crucial to our early success with him.
Yeah.
In that he got a great group of people together that gelled really well, worked well together, worked well for each other and him. And that, I think that made a huge difference in, like I said, in our early success.
Yeah, and definitely, like we'll come on to later, Phil Brown always, even when things weren't going great, there's always a squad full of characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's probably a few stories that could be told, but shouldn't be over the years anyway.
So you ended up becoming Phil Brown's first signing. What do you remember about the club when you joined? Was it different to when you'd been there previously?
Only minor things. The training ground was pretty similar, other than I think it had been chopped and changed a little bit in that things had moved from upstairs downstairs.
Yeah.
It was pretty similar.
Yeah.
The ground was still the same. The changing rooms were still the same at that time. But that's something Phil Brown changed fairly quickly, I think, when he came in. That was something that I'd not seen too much before, was that he didn't just want us to do well on the pitch. He wanted our surroundings. He wanted everything to be better for us.
Yeah.
So whether that be, like I said, the changing rooms at the ground, whether that be things at the training ground, whether that be the food that we're eating at the training ground, the quality of it all, the schedule. He wanted, bit by bit, he was working on getting everything as good as it could be. Because let's get it right, the Boots and Laces training ground is the oldest knocked up building. It's falling apart, but he did what he could with it.
Yeah.
He knew he wasn't going to get a new training ground overnight or anything like that. So I think he took bits and pieces from what he'd done in other places that he could do for probably a lot less money. So we couldn't get an AstroTurf put on the training ground. He couldn't dig up all the pitches and make them like Wembley or anything like that. But what he could do was little bits and pieces. Like I said, tinker with the quality of the food coming in for after training and bits and pieces like that. The supplements we were taking, he'd even little things like giving it a lick of paint to brighten it up and mess around with the changing rooms, make sure the showers are working. I know it's all silly little things, but something as simple as a shower, having a nice hot shower after training in the winter,
makes a difference.
As opposed to having a dribble coming out of the shower and cold water, it makes it a more enjoyable place to be generally. And I think he gave it that feeling of, so people didn't want to shoot off straight after training.
Yeah.
They stick around with their football mates, whether it be with the pool table upstairs in the canteen, or we had a table tennis table for a while, those kind of things. He made it into an area where everyone wanted to be around.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to train, bolt down their food and shoot off. It was a case of people sticking around, and at times he'd have to tell people to go home, which is, you can't ask for any more as a manager, of people not wanting to leave the building or wanting to be around people and around fun and that kind of stuff. And I think that was again is a big part of our group ethic and our team and our unit, and not just the players, the staff, everyone felt like one big unit, which for me was huge.
Yeah. Did you so obviously the aim for Phil Brown was one aim, and that was to get the club into League One. Your first season at the club, we lost in the playoff semi-final to Burton. So we're going to move on to the next season. Just how special was it?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It's I don't think you don't come across it that often where you have all the ingredients to make it to that promotion spot or to get promoted. You don't always notice it to start with. Sometimes it creeps up on you, and you just build that feeling of confidence and we can do this. But I think it was one of those that we didn't dwell on the season before, where we'd got knocked out in the playoffs. I think it could have gone either way. It could have, like I said, we could have dwelled on it, and it could have hindered the start of the next season and been a bit of a hangover, like they like to say. But it didn't. I think we kind of used that experience and used it in the right way to propel us forward, and think, right, we got that close, we've got to do the same again. Yeah, it's a long road, but it gives you that fuel to want to go that one step further. And like I said, it kind of, we had that feeling early on that we do this right. We stick to what we know. We play to our best. We give everything in training every day. We know we've got the quality. Lots of groups will think at the start of the season, we've got the group to do this, but it doesn't always click like that. You don't have all the ingredients at the right time, and it seemed like that was slowly building. We had confidence from the start, but I think it was one of those that just kept growing and growing and growing, and then it's a case of kind of trying to hold on to that feeling of we're not there yet, but we just got to keep going. As opposed to, you'll see lots of teams do really well and then drop off get a bit of complacency or find it hard to maintain their levels. And I don't think we did. I think it was one of those that, like I said, it just we kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And I mean, I wouldn't say I remember too much of the actual season, because the amount of games I played over the years, it kind of, every season within reason kind of blends together as one. And it's sometimes difficult to pick apart, what year was this, or I'm terrible for years and dates. I know events more than anything. And obviously the culmination of that season was ridiculous. But like I said, we felt like we were getting stronger and stronger towards the end, whereas other teams were starting to maybe struggle a little bit to hold on to their form, or I think we got our sticky patch, because everyone has a bad patch. But I think we got that out of the way fairly early. And then managed to kind of push on when teams were starting to struggle maybe. And then with going to Morecambe last day of the season, being our kind of bogey team, if you like, I got the feeling that they were purely, because I don't think they had too much to play for, if anything. They were that kind of team, horrible, nitty gritty, fight for everything, elbows.
Proper League Two team.
All they wanted to do that day was stop us getting promoted. They didn't care what happened in the game as long as we didn't get promoted. That's kind of the feeling I got. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But it felt like they went out of their way a little bit to try and mess us up. And it did. We didn't play to our best that day. Maybe the event of it all, if we win this, we're promoted, maybe that got to us a little bit, and we didn't perform how we should have done on the day. I think they played well. We didn't play very well at all. And it was kind of a bit of a wake-up call, if you like. It felt, obviously, at the end of the game, everyone was devastated. It was our chance to not have to go through the playoffs, to just go straight up and not have to think about it again. But looking back on it now, I'd change nothing. Not one thing.
Definitely.
we did it in the best way possible.
Yeah.
But at that time, there was no guarantees. There's
Yeah.
no guarantee that you get into the playoffs. There's no guarantees you'll get past the first or the semi-final.
Yeah.
But it was, I think maybe it was enough of a kick to spur us on, but we didn't let it kind of hang around too much and drag us down. Because I think it'd be quite easy for a team to miss out on automatic promotion the last day of the season and then just struggle to get back onto their game for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't have that. We felt strong. We got a half decent result away at Stevenage in the first leg. And it was a close game. Both teams, as you'd expect, were feeling the nerves and the pressure of it all, and the bigger crowds than normal. The TV cameras were there. I know I was nervous going into it, being that I'd not experienced going through that system other than the season before, where it was kind of an unknown to me. Whereas the next season, obviously with Stevenage, it was slightly more of a known kind of scenario. But again, it was the whole season was dependent on 2 games of football, and then obviously the third. But I know I feel the pressure because I want to do well. I want us to do well. I wanted us to win, and I know I'd have been devastated had we not done that. Especially missing out the season before in the playoffs. But again, it's a balance of trying to use the nervous energy well and not let it affect you, but also trying to be as relaxed as possible to play your own game. But again, it's trying to, with those games, you kind of got to think, how hard do we push? There's another game. If we go 1-0 down, you don't go reckless and go 2-0 down straight away, trying to get it back straight away. So it's a lot more cautious the way you go into that, I think, in that it's not over as long as you're in the game come the second leg. Definitely. Even if you're 1, maybe 2-0 down, going back to your own ground, you've got a chance. So it's a case of, you want to get back in the game if you're 1-0 down, but how much do you risk it against conceding another one? So all those things were playing out in my head during the game and stuff. And we had the horrible collision of heads with Michael Timlin that, again, was traumatic to see.
Makes you feel sick to this day, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I can picture the photo of it in my head right now.
Yeah, same.
And I can see, because I remember going straight over to him and him trying to fight people off, trying to tell them he was fine. He was trying to literally fight the physio off, saying he wasn't going off. He had the biggest gash in his head you've ever seen, other than horrible things like car crashes and things like that. It looked like he'd been in a car crash. You could pretty much see his skull. And typical Michael Timlin didn't want to give up, didn't want to go off the pitch, but he literally had no choice. There was nothing that could be done to get him to stay on the pitch. I think his head split in 3 different directions as well. So if you look at him now, you can barely tell that he's had it. So I'm sure he'd be very, very thankful to the surgeon and the people, the doctors and stuff that have stitched him up at the time. And I don't know if he's had any surgery since to kind of help with that, but they did unbelievable. And to his credit, again, he played in the next leg, which is, you wouldn't expect that of anyone.
Kind of summed that squad up, didn't it? The never say die.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. You'd have no qualms with him not being able to play in the second leg because he's got the biggest hole in his head. But Tim's being Tim's, he just summed it up. He wasn't taking no for an answer. He did everything he could to get back on the pitch. He ended up wearing the scrum hat, I think it is, the rugby padded hat, just to get on the pitch. And he even scored in the game as well. Which just, like you said, it sums it all up. The spirit amongst it, the fight, the willingness to go through pretty much anything to get to where we need to be. It was summed up right there. But I take my hat off to him because I don't know if I'd have been as brave as he was to then go and try and head balls in the second leg of it and further on from that. So all credit to him.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about Wembley in a moment. But just how, because obviously not only was you a part of that team, you were leading it, you were captain. And fans still to this day, half a decade later, still refer to that team after a bad result. We just think, like I still do, I watch the highlights from that season and it makes you feel better as a fan. How was it for you as captain?
It kind of, to a certain extent, because of the good group we had, it took care of itself.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I had to be like I wanted to be a strong leader, but I'm very much one that leads by example. I'm not a big shout at people, try and rip them apart, or I'm very much try and just show them what I want from them by doing it myself. Trying to be the good pro, training well, playing well, trying to be consistent, trying to help others. And I'd like to think that shows on the pitch as much as anything, but I don't do it for personal gain. It's purely I want the team to do well. I want myself to do well. I want to be in a good place, and I want others around me to be able to enjoy it as much as possible. Because a lot of the time with it, you're in the moment so intensely that it's so difficult to kind of step out of it,
Yeah.
and look in and see what you're actually doing, take on the whole scenario, and kind of realise where you're at. So it's something I've learned since those seasons, that you have to, as much as possible, especially when you're young, enjoy every moment. It's very easy to get stuck in the moment and just kind of not enjoy it as much as you should. You kind of move from game to game. You don't think about it. And you kind of just get stuck moving from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And you don't take the time to really step out and say, this is what we're achieving. This is what we've done. This is what I've done. This is what the group's done. So that's probably one thing that I'd say to myself, and I try to do it this season, even with the youngsters that have been coming through, and just to try and get them to not just be so intent in the moment, is to try and put a smile on their face, even when things are going bad. Just try and realise what you're doing. You're playing football. That's your job. That's what most people, or most of the players, have wanted to do since they were small enough to I don't know, to sit on a bike or whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of a dream for so many people, but if you don't enjoy it, it kind of passes you by really quick. So it's something that is difficult to do at times, especially when things are going bad. It's so hard to try and enjoy bits that you can, but it's a huge thing that if you can, from time to time even, just think to yourself, what am I doing here? This is unbelievable. Even when things are bad.
Yeah.
You think, would I want to be anywhere else? No. It's special what you're doing. Even if it only lasts for a year, it's a special time. So yeah, no, it's tougher to do when things are going bad, but it's something that I've done a lot more over the last few years, is try and think outside of the bubble that I'm in, and think this isn't going to last forever, especially now. I'm getting older. I need to try and make the most of every moment.
Yeah.
And try and enjoy it as much as possible.
Yeah. So we're going to come on to this game here. How was that? How was that week leading up to it? Was you nervous, excited? Your first time at Wembley?
A bit of everything. A bit of everything. It didn't seem real to start with when it was a bit further away. Yeah, you knew it was coming, but it didn't feel like it was actually happening, because it just, I think that's one thing that we did after beating Stevenage in the semi-final, was to try and keep things as normal as possible. Obviously, you get extra media attention, you get photographers coming in wanting to take photos and things for the match day programme, and there's going to be bits that you just can't get away from.
Yeah.
But I think the managers, what he did well was try and keep us in our Southend bubble, if you like. Try and keep us as routine, as normal, just preparing for another game as possible, so that we were ready for the game, and it was just a case of playing that game.
Yeah.
So I think that helped me massively.
Yeah.
But I think one thing for myself, as much as anything, that made a huge difference, I believe, was visiting Wembley Stadium the day before.
Yeah.
It was, I didn't know how much of an effect Wembley would have on me until I got there.
Yeah.
We went there the day before and had a look around, went in the changing rooms, went on the pitch, took us as many photos as you wanted, trying to kind of be as a tourist, if you like, do all the sightseeing bits. And that was a godsend to me. Because I remember, I don't know why it happened, but to this day I remember standing on the pitch, looking around the stadium, shaking. Literally, physically, my hands, I was on my phone, I couldn't stop shaking. Whether that was energy, that was nerves, that was a kind of realization of what was happening, what we were about to do. But because we went there the day before, the next day I went there, it seemed like a normal game. Although it was in unbelievable surroundings and it was crazy, and driving up to where you park the bus and going underneath the ground into the changing rooms. And it was obviously all on a much bigger scale than I was used to.
Yeah.
It was a lot more focused on it's another game. And I didn't have those shakes when I went out and looked at the pitch and checked what boots I'd need. I knew what boots I'd need. It was just a case of being in your habit, your routines, and doing what you do for every other game.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think that was the best thing that could have happened to me, because had I got those nerves on the pitch the day of the game, I think it would have had a much larger effect on myself and possibly others as well. I don't know. I don't really know how others were feeling at that time, because everyone was kind of a bit on like cloud cuckoo land, or just kind of away with the fairies a bit, trying to enjoy it as much as anything.
Yeah.
But I know underlying that was my nerves. And even as a youngster coming through, when I started playing at Colchester, I suffered with nerves a bit. And the morning of games, I'd be pacing around and thinking in my head what I had to do. And I learned over probably a couple of years that it wasn't good for me. It probably took longer than that, actually. It took me a fair few years to realise that it was taken away from my football.
Yeah.
And I was burning a lot of nervous energy in the morning before the game. So after that, I learned to try and switch off from football all morning until you get to the ground. And that's kind of lived with me to this day. That's kind of what I do now. I try and stay as normal. I watch Soccer AM or whatever's on TV, not think about my game at all, and then get to the game, and then you're more focused rather than having those nerves. And the amount of games I played now, it doesn't happen too often where I'm a bit worried or a bit nervous, because I was never the most self-confident. As a person, as a player, I was one, I think I needed an arm round more than a rollicking from time to time. But generally I didn't need either, because I kind of pride myself on not getting too low when things are bad and not getting too high when things are good. I kind of stay somewhere in the middle, and it means I don't have too far to climb if I'm doing badly, or too far to fall if I'm the opposite. But yeah, no, that, like I said, that trip to Wembley the day before was huge. And I think I can't thank him enough for taking us. And because I think I'd probably been once to watch England or something like that to Wembley. So it was a complete new surroundings for me. And obviously the huge changing rooms and all the media attention, it can get the best of people. And it possibly would have done to me had I not done that the day before. But yeah, no, it was special. It was a special occasion. We were a special group of people. And just the day itself was incredible. I'm sure it would be a horrible memory in my mind had it turned out the other way, and something I'd probably not enjoyed at all had it gone the other way. But it's something that no one can take away from me now, and it's just unbelievable. The feelings it brings back, the instant emotion that I can't get from anywhere else other than the day I got promoted at Colchester. And now the Sunderland game, end of season, well, not the season just gone, the one before, that is a very similar feeling. So it's not easily recreated, that feeling, and it's something that, although the actual pictures in my head will fade slowly as I get older and forget things, but again, having those videos and photos, I've got loads of photos on my phone and video clips, and from time to time you see it on Sky Sports again, and it just brings back instant goosebumps and just that feeling of how good it was, the raw emotion that is so hard to get back.
Yeah. And obviously we know what happened. We go 1-0 down, we equalise, 20 seconds to go, win on penalties. How close was you to taking a penalty? Because if I'm not mistaken, both teams had taken 8.
I think next was Barry Core.
Right.
And then it was me.
Okay. Was you getting a bit nervous?
Oh, a little bit. I was not happy. I was getting very, very nervous. And a lot of people, like Barry Core says, I've seen it on interviews since, that at times he thinks possibly he should have stepped up and taken one.
Yeah.
I do not feel that for 1 second. I am so pleased I didn't have to take one. I don't care what happened. I don't care what people think about me for not wanting to take one. Do not care one little bit. We got the result we needed, and I didn't have to take a penalty. And stupid enough as it sounds, I have not taken a penalty since I missed one for my Sunday league team in the East Anglian Cup final.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how long it's festered.
Yeah.
Although I missed it, we still won.
That's all right then.
which is all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, ever since then, I've never taken a professional, if you like, penalty. I've never taken one in a professional game. I don't know whether it's just because I've left it so long. If I'd have taken one since, like straight after, I'd have been fine probably. But yeah, no, it's something that's stuck with me for a long time, and it probably, to the outside, it probably sounds ridiculous, but I can still kind of half picture the missing the penalty, and then having to rely on my goalie to save one and to score himself as well. But yeah, no, like I was getting close, and I was trying it, if I'm honest. I'm not a penalty taker, and I haven't, like I just said, I haven't taken one for years. I know what I would have done with it. I'd have done a short run up, and I'd have put it low to my left, tried to hit the side netting as hard as I could, side foot. That's what I'd have done, and that's, if I ever had to take a penalty, that's probably where I'd go, because that's my safety spot, if you like. But yeah, I was dreading it.
Well, let's hope no goalies are watching this then, because you've just given away.
I'm not allowed to take one soon.